Hi, I'm Michael Newrock, and this is a trend trade conservative buy example on the short 15-minute time frame. I'll just place my markers of where the signal occurred right here. It's always the candle prior to the Trend Profiteer arrow, and that's because the arrow is displayed only at the end of the candle, which provides the signal. So it's placed on the or at the open of the next candle. Alrighty, so for a trend trade conservative buy to exist, we need to have an overall trend direction of up, which it is. 4 out of the 6 high time frames are pointing upward. We need to have the yellow moving average crossing over the gray moving average. We need to have the trend follower green, which it is. We need to have the RSI above the 50 line. The MACD needs to be above the 0 line, and it needs to be green and above the signal line. And finally, the white stochastic line must be above the blue stochastic line. So all those conditions are in place, thereby giving us this Trend Profiteer alert. Now we place the stop below the gray moving average, which is around the 32, 33 pips. So let's say we extend it out to say 40 pips. I was like leaving a little more room, and you can customize whatever you wish, and it'll be generated dynamically for you. So 40 pips is here for our risk, and our first target to achieve a 1-to-1 reward to risk ratio would be here. 80 pips would be here. That gives us a 2-to-1 reward to risk ratio. 120 pips here, giving us a 3-to-1 reward to risk ratio, and 160 pips just over here, giving us a 4-to-1 reward to risk ratio. We risk 40 pips on this example and generate as much as 160 pips. At this point, I'll just bring it over. You can see that there's another trend trade to the upside after this consolidation period, which we could then take for another 70 or so pips. And then finally we get this one here. Alrighty, so that concludes the trend trade conservative buy example. Until next time, good trading, live well, and I'll see you soon. Hi, I'm Michael Newrock, and this is a trend trade conservative sell example on the short 15-minute time frame. This is the example that I want to go over. I'll just place my markers here. Of course, the signal bar is the bar that's just closed prior to the Trend Profiteer arrow being displayed, which is always displayed on the new bar after the close of the signal has occurred. Alrighty, so first of all, we need to have an overall trend direction of down. In this case, we do. You need 4 out of the 6 or more of these higher time frame indicators to be down. In this case, they are. Trend follower is red. The yellow moving average is below the slow moving average. The price is below the yellow moving average. The RSI must be below the 50 line. The MACD must be below the 0 line. It must be red, and it must be below the signal line. And finally, the white stochastic line must be below the blue stochastic line. In this case, all of those examples are valid for this trade to be signaled on as a conservative trend trade. The slow moving average, the gray moving average, is only about 5 pips above, so we always give it a little more room to move, say 10 pips. And this, because it is only a 15-minute chart, you could go more, but you always want to minimize your risk. First target here at 10 pips would give us a 1-to-1 reward to risk ratio. Second target here at here for 20 pips for a 2-to-1 reward to risk ratio. Here for 3-to-1 reward to risk ratio. 40 pips here gives us 4-to-1 reward to risk ratio. And if you had survived this area, then it would have gone down another 20 odd pips. Of course, This is on the short time frame. Sometimes you can get a trade that continues to go and then trigger a higher time frame, like a 1 hour time frame, and then a 4 hour, and it can end up making quite a bit. But other times, um, I would be happy with this result on a shorter time frame because, of course, it is only on the 15-minute. So that concludes this example for a trend trade conservative sell on the short 15-minute time frame. Till next time, good trading, live well, and I'll see you soon. Hi, I'm Michael Newrock, and this is a swing within a trend conservative buy trade example on the short-term 15-minute time frame. So this is the example that I want to go over. I'll just place my markers here where the signal actually occurred at the close of this bar, and of course the arrow was displayed at the close of the bar on the next bar. So first thing is that we've got to be in an overall upward direction, so the overall trend direction must be up. We have 5 out of the 6 high time frames pointing up, so that is enough. We only need 4 out of the 6 to give us an overall upward direction. The trend follower must be green. The quick or the yellow moving average must be above the slow moving average or gray moving average. The RSI must be above 50. The MACD must have at least 2 consecutive red histogram bars above the 0 line, and the signal bar must be a green histogram bar above the 0 line and above the signal line, which you can just see there. And that's all we need to look for a swing trade as a conservative buy. So just looking where we would put the stop, around 15 pips or just under to the gray moving average. So if we say increased it to 20 pips, not that we needed it in this case, but giving it a little bit of extra room, we would have hit our first target for our 1-to-1 reward to risk ratio here at 20 pips. Then here at 40 pips, around here for 60 pips, that's a 3-to-1 reward to risk ratio, 80 pips here, and all the way up to 100 pips for a 5-to-1 reward to risk ratio. So for the 20 pips that we risked, we generated a potential total of 100 pips in this example. And at that time, it's just interesting to note that there's another conservative swing trade occurring here. Again, we have the MACD green histogram bar poking above the signal line, which is what we need to see. And this trade continued to go up another almost 100 pips. So there you go. That concludes the example for a swing within a trend, conservative buy trade within a short term or on a short term 15-minute time frame. Till next time, good trading, live well, and I'll see you soon. Hi, I'm Michael Newrock, and this is a swing within a trend conservative sell trade example on the 15-minute short time frame. There's 2 conservative swing within trend sells here, very, very close to each other. So I'll just choose one of them. I'll just go for this one here, which is the more clearer out of the 2, and set my markers down here. So to have a conservative swing within a trend sell, we need to have to start off with an overall trend direction of down. To do that, we need to have at least 4 out of the 6 high time frames indicators pointing down. In this case, we do. The trend follower must be red. The yellow moving average must be below the gray moving average. The price must be below the yellow moving average. The RSI must be below the 50 line. The MACD histogram must have at least 2 consecutive green histogram bars followed by a red histogram bar that's below the zero line and below the signal line. And finally, the white stochastic line must be below the blue stochastic line. If we move this over a little bit, we can see here the green histogram bars here and a more clearer view of the red histogram bar being below that signal line. So we'd place our stop just above the gray moving average. In this case, it's only about 10, 11 pips away. Say if we put it down for 15 pips, always make it a little bit higher. You can customize all of this as well, which is the really cool thing, to your exact settings. And 15 pips would have been hit around, actually big consolidation zone here, around here finally, 1-to-1 reward to risk ratio would have been achieved there. 30 pips here, 45 pips here, 60 pips here, giving us a 4-to-1 reward to risk ratio. 75 pips here, giving us a 5-to-1 reward to risk ratio, and we actually make the 90 pips as well, giving us a 6-to-1 reward to risk ratio. So for the 15 pips that we risked, in this example, we generated the potential maximum of 90 pips, actually a little more than that, but that gives us our 6-to-1 reward to risk ratio, which is fantastic by anyone's standards. So that concludes this example of a swing within a trend conservative sell trade on the short-term 15-minute chart. Till next time, good trading, live well, and I'll see you soon.